Hi, and this is the girl of the year 2012. Her name's Sophie Gibbons, and she comes in pink Converses, green jeans, NBA shirt, and in pigtails. And her story is that she was born on March 28, 1998, and she grew up with two boys that loved skateboarding and hip hop dancing. So she kind of grew on to that until when she was 10, her mom and dad got divorced, and her mom decided she would keep her, and her dad decided she would keep the two boys. And so Sophie had to move because her mom decided to move to Boston because she wanted to be as far away as she could get from her dad. Her dad. So her friends made her this. So this is her furniture piece. They made her this so she wouldn't forget them. And when she got there, she was really upset because she wished she could have stayed at her own town. So she just decided to go out and ride her skateboard and everything because her brothers taught her how to skateboard. And this right here is her skateboard outfit. It comes with a skateboard, a headband, sneakers, this shirt, and this skirt. And while she was riding there, she was riding and she bumped into somebody. And it was this boy, and he was like, I didn't know girls could skateboard. And she's like, yeah, all girls can skateboard. And then he's like, don't you go to my school or something? And she's like, yeah, you're in my class. And he's like, oh yeah. And I'm like, and she's like, and he's like, and his mom started calling him in. So he said, see you later. And she's like, bye. And her mom was like, oh my gosh, get in here, Sophie. I can't believe you ran off without telling me. And so she just slammed on her pajamas and went to her room. And this is her pajamas. And this hat. And the next day at school, she saw this sign on the wall that said dance fairy tale ball. And a fairy tale ball she didn't know what a fairy tale ball was, so she just walked up to that boy she saw yesterday, and she's like, hey. And he's like, oh, hi. And then she was like, well, I don't even know what a fairy tale ball is. And he's like, yeah, most homegirls don't know. And then she started laughing, and then she's like, hi, I'm really into hip hop too. And he's like, oh, I won that championship thingamajobber in hip hop. And then he's like, oh, cool, maybe you should tutor me sometime or something. And then he's like, yeah. And then he said the fairy tale ball is kind of like a dance thingy. And she's like, oh, I don't know how to dance. And she's like, but you know hip hop, right? And she's like, yeah. And then he just looked at the sign, and he's like, hey, want to go with me to the ball? And she's like, oh yeah. And then they left. And then on the day of the ball, the day before the ball, she was like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna wear? And so she wore this really, really girly dress that she have never even touched it, looked at in her life. And here it is. This. And this. And the shoes are these. And then she walks into the ball wearing this, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, what are you wearing?" She's like, "Oh, a dress." And then he's like, "Yeah, well, I like it." And she's like, "Oh well, okay." And she's like, "You don't like it, do you?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, I do. I just thought you were gonna wear something cool." And he's like, "Oh, I wore this because I thought you liked it." And he's like, "Why would you think I like that dress?" And he's like, "Well, it's a ball, right?" And then he's like, "Well, I'll talk to you later." And he just left the ball, like her standing there with no one. And she was like, "Man, that's rude." And then the next day she was like, "Why did you leave me?" And then he was like, "Well, you were all dressed up and it was kind of, surprising to me." And then she was like, "What? It's a ball!" And then he's like, "But I like you because you're like not like those other girls." And she's like, "Oh, thanks." And then he's like, "The next ball, will you please just wear this, what she's wearing right now?" And then "Will you please just wear a basketball short and jeans and Converses?" And then she's like, "Yeah." And they were like, "Yeah." And then they were like, "Yay!" And then it was a happy ending. And yeah, and that's the story.